how AI, we're seeing AI evolving on a daily basis. We're seeing some announcements on a daily basis, but the academia should catch up. And how it should catch up is what, I'd really like to hear from all of you. So let me start with Professor Raina. So Professor Raina, I've had the unique advantage of developing curriculum for the corporate industry, for executives, as well as for academia, which is ISB and the Advertising Standard Council of India. Now, while AI is evolving, the curricula it should also evolve. So the question to you, Professor Raina, is what specific skills and competencies should these colleges and universities prioritize to make sure that not just the curriculum, but the students who are consuming this curriculum are ready for the industry?
Sure. Can you hear me? Yeah, works. Thanks for that. I think that's one of the sort of central questions that is sitting with us today. And I think that should start with what is or what constitutes this area of data science, machine learning, AI in the first place. So then I would first like to start by saying that AI shouldn't be seen as just CS+. It's a brand new domain in its own right. So when you're looking at computer science, for example, most computer science departments would have 3 broad streams in them. There'll be theory, systems, machine learning, and AI. But now AI has matured enough to have a specific separate discipline in its own right. And that has 3 broad components to it. A computing component, which would have programming, databases, algorithms, data structures. Mathematics, which would have calculus, probability and statistics, linear algebra, and optimization. And when you combine the computing layer with the math layer, with the data layer, you'll get supervised learning, unsupervised learning, generative AI, and reinforcement learning. Right? So a BTech in AI is distinctively different than a BTech in computer science. So I think that's the very first thing that we need to recognize, that we have a brand new discipline. And this is something that the world now has to deal with. Right? We're all in the same boat. So I think the very first thing that, we can't just be thinking about how do we have graduates with the correct skill sets 1 year down the road. Right? That's a separate problem. Right? But if you say, what is the next generation of graduates, which will only be 3 to 4 years away, right? Then I think these are the underlying theoretical concepts that they need to be comfortable with if they were to become the next generation of AI scientists and AI engineers.
A follow-up question to that. Some of these concepts have already been existent for the past few years. So in context of that, and some of the students are already consuming such content, where do you see the delta between what they have right now in terms of these concepts that you are explaining to what they need to be? Is there a delta at all, or what they're having right now is sufficient in terms of the conceptual concepts that you're talking about?
Sorry, you'll have to just repeat that again. Can I get that question again?
Yeah, so I was asking that some of these concepts, the topics that you're talking about, are currently available in the curriculum, right? To some level.
Not really. So, okay, so I think I get that question. So in computer science, for example, today you will have topics like mathematics for computer scientists, right? And I think to some extent, they neither do justice to the mathematics, nor enough justice to the computer science.
Right.
So you need to not have a course which says mathematics for machine learning and a little bit of linear algebra, a little bit of optimization, a little bit of probability. What I'm talking about is you need to have courses which are in calculus, probability and statistics, linear algebra, optimization, advanced optimization. So you probably need to do, I guess, at least one whole year of mathematics, and not just mathematics for computer science.
Thank you, Professor Raina. I think let's move on to our next panelist, And I think I want to point this question to Professor Ashwini Kumar. And while we are talking about AI and how it can impact students' learning, by using AI-based solutions, do you think that it would hamper critical thinking? It would hamper responsibility, ethics as part of the overall curriculum, or do you think that they will acquire new skills or new metrics?
Okay, yeah, thanks for the question. I think when you're talking about AI and AI skills that need to be incorporated in the curriculum, I think Professor Gaurav Rana is the expert, and I think he's already talked about the technical skills that need to be incorporated and how AI is a much broader subject than just machine learning and data science. And it needs to be much broadly incorporated in the curriculum. Now, when I look at thinking about AI, not just from a technical point of view or the technical skills, the AI skills, which Professor Gaurav has already explained very well. If I go beyond technical skills and just try to conceptualize the kind of world we're living in, if you look at the business today, we look in a highly disruptive world. It's AI and generative AI, along with other digital technologies and tools, is changing the way we live and work. And if you look at business particularly, it is disrupting just the rules of the game, how business is done across industries. So no industry, no company, no product or service is untouched by it. And so how are they responding to it? The ones which are successful are the ones which are thinking like data business, irrespective of the product or service you're in, whether you're an Uber or an Airbnb or a Google or an Amazon, or even the traditional company. Look at Tesla, look at Nike and other companies. You're thinking and working like a data business, irrespective of the product or service or the industry you're in. And that's where the importance of the other aspect is how transformation change is the new constant. So the aspect that we typically buzzword is digital transformation and disruption. So companies need to be continuously on the path of digital transformation, which is a journey, not a destination. And that can happen with a combination of digital technology. So transformation of business models, business processes, using AI along with other digital technologies. So if you are living in a constantly disruptive and transformative world, using data, when we talked about data science earlier, supervised learning, unsupervised learning, reinforcement learning, and machine learning has been the buzzword for the last couple of decades in business. It has been, but earlier it has been primarily for decision making, getting insights which can be used for decision making. Now we have gone beyond it, where from machine learning we have gone to AI, which is about incorporating human intelligence in machines, where it can be used to transform business models and business processes. So having said that, if that is the context, the most important skill, or at least one of the most critical skills, becomes problem formulation and critical thinking. For the last few decades, if you look at the growth story of India also, the focus has been on services industry. In a stable business environment, the focus is on providing solutions. So providing solutions in a stable environment, using data for decision making and so on. But in this highly disruptive environment where change is the new constant, problem formulation and critical thinking becomes a very critical skill, using AI and generative AI and other tools. So there are two aspects to it. When you look at curriculum, irrespective of the discipline, it could be business, it could be technology, it could be media, it could be journalism and so on. There are 5 skills that typically even Harvard Business Review has come up with. So problem formulation, critical or creative thinking, but only that is problem formulation and creative thinking in this data intensive world where you look at big data and the 3 V's of data is not possible without the use of AI and generative AI tools to analyze data. So what has happened is the remembering part of the data, the researching part of data, the analysis part of data, which a lot of it was being done by humans earlier, can now be done better and more efficiently by generative AI. But does that mean it will replace human beings? Of course not. That will help us do more productive roles, which is problem formulation, creating new customer experiences, creating new products and services. So the way I look at it is the curriculum needs to be revamped to focus on problem formulation, creative thinking, interdisciplinary curriculum, because problems are interdisciplinary. They are not discipline specific. That does not mean discipline or subject matter has not to be taught. Obviously, they will be taught. But the problem formulation in terms of teaching this would be important. And experimenting with AI tools, right? So maybe, when you look at generative AI, instead of fearing it, it helps you do human-to-machine conversations in natural language. So it will make everybody a programmer. A few years back, we were saying that how programming is to be learned by everybody, and it was incorporated in business schools also. And now with generative AI, we are saying that it will make everybody a programmer. So I see that generative AI is, especially generative AI, we talked about AI in transformation. Generative AI is going to transform job roles, and it'll help you become a programmer where everybody can help design solutions.
But what about regulation? So, and I'd like to bring Dr. Garg here in terms of, there's a lot of activity happening, but without government regulation. And Dr. Garg, you've been in the government for 22 years. So is there any step being taken to kind of regulate how the curriculum is being designed using these various methodologies, and to what should be taught versus what should not be taught at this point? Is there any regulation happening, or should there be any regulation at this point?
So you talked about regulation as such for AI, and that too you came down even to this curriculum level, a regulation around a curriculum level. But it's unfortunate to note that AI as such has no regulation, whereas the biggest question around the use of AI in some of the most critical areas where it has got the power to solve the basic problems of a developing world like India. Talk about the huge healthcare need. Talk about increasing the productivity in agriculture. Talk about solving the logistic problems. AI has the ability to do that. But the problem with AI is that it has got a question of trust around it. Now we need to build a system which is powered by the regulations, which can be either global or can be country-based or national. But my point is that it has to be a combination of national and international, primarily focusing around that how do you create trust around AI in the consumers, among the consumers. I'm not talking about the developers, I'm not talking about the faculty. They have to be the enablers for enabling a curriculum that is revolving around this. There is an ISA 4201 standard, and Infosys is the first company that has actually adhered to those standards. You must have read it in the newspapers. We need to get more and more companies which are adhering to international standards on responsible AI. The second important point which I want to talk about is the regulations. What we look at, the first three industrial revolutions, 1, 2, and 3, the machines, the electricity, and the computers. India was nowhere, as was already said in the initial talks, both by MSR and others, and Rahul also. Why were we not there? We gave a reason that we were either colonized or just came out of colonial slavery. But when we are in 2024, we are an aspirational country with a huge talent. We need to actually nurture this talent rightfully so that the AI divide is not created the way the compute divide, the machine divide, and the electricity divide happened in the first three industries. Where we were the seekers, the West was the provider. We need to be the providers in the sense because we have got two things. We have the skill. The skill has to be nurtured by people like Gaurav and others. The problem is that there are very few Gauravs. And the quality needs to be, and they should be actually be creating a million Gauravs out of one Gaurav, which the metaverse and AI has the power to do. So the first point is that one of the startups should create a million Gauravs for this country. That will be the first skills shortage question that will be solved. How do you do that? The folks know how to do it, and he also knows it. The second issue is that we need to understand that what we have as a power, we have the data, we have the skill, and we are the largest source of problems in the world. If we bring these three together, create the right policy framework, regulatory framework, and a skill development framework, create many more of these institutes like which is there on the 7th floor, the maths, we can solve this problem because we have the ability to do that. That's the limited point. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Dr. Gar. But this ability of problem solving, right now, or at least these discussions are happening at, say, metros or in top universities. Do you see that happening at, say, a district level colleges or tier 3, tier 4 colleges as well?
It can happen. This country has been the strongest. This country has actually originated the very concept of mathematics. We, as a community, are considered to be the strongest, along with the Chinese, on maths. If you agree to me, but the problem is that most of the maths courses and the curriculum and the teaching pedagogy has converted mathematics also into a concept called history. And the way जो रटंत है, हिंदी में बोल रहा हूँ, उसे जाना है, and that was the original Indian way of learning. We have to come out of the colonial mindset of our learning systems and create and bring us our own old set of methods by which learning was through experience rather than by remembering certain things. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Gar. Professor Sujit, do you think it's time for colleges and universities to nudge the students towards AI-first innovations? Right now, there is a section which says, okay, AI-based innovations, there are human-based innovations and other kind of innovations. Should the colleges say, hey, first focus on AI-first innovations?
To begin with, I would like to thank T-Hub and Maths for organizing this beautiful event. In addition to IIM Nagpur, I am representing Association of Information Systems India chapter, where we have some 130 members, and these members are broadly from business schools. They teach information systems, digital technologies, including AI, to current generation. Coming to your point, I would like to divide learners into two groups. One group is learners with computer science background, another students or learners with non-computer science background. What should be covered to teach computer science background, Dr. Rena has already talked about. They should be good at maths and associated disciplines. Now, when we come to teaching AI innovations to non-computer background, we need to focus on two broad aspects. One aspect I would like to begin with, we should teach what capabilities AI technologies are bringing to the table. Second, what AI can do and what AI cannot do. To begin with AI capabilities, I would like to bring your attention to two broader capabilities. One capability where AI is much, much superior is the perception. Perception, AI tools, AI applications are much superior than human. Human commits 5% error when they recognize an image, whereas machines have reached at the level of 99% accuracy. I would like to give one example where it comes to real-world problems. In India, we have one ophthalmologist on 1.25 lakhs population. So it is very difficult to, have doctors or ophthalmologists who can cater this large-scale problem related to cataract. So we designed one application where we can detect cataract using AI. This is one simple use case. This is the type of curriculum we should design, we should talk about in our classrooms. Second is deep customization. This is one of the excellent capability of AI comes up with. Like these days we start watching reels and we end up watching, for hours. And this is what we observe. One major problem what we see in today's world is education. Education in particularly rural setting or even urban setting. We are providing a generic education. Maybe down the line, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, we may come up with customized education. So this is another use case what I see. The second issue what I would like to talk about, what AI can do and what AI cannot do. This is also we should bring in our curriculum. What AI can do photo tagging, AI can do speech recognition, machine translation, all these things AI can do. What AI cannot do is judgment skills. Judgment skills are there with human. So these are the things which we should cover to, in colleges and even at school level to handle AI innovations to address real world issues.
I have one question for all the teachers here. So I have 3 teachers who are teaching. What do you foresee the role of a teacher in an AI education system in the future? Do you think, what role will a teacher play? And that's on the mind of every educator at this point, with when they're thinking about AI, will their role get diminished? So let me start with you, Professor Ashwin.
I think the role remains the same. A teacher, what does a teacher want? It wants that any teacher, guru or professor, whatever you call them, whatever name you call them by, wants that every student should realize their potential in life, irrespective, based on their strengths and interests and so on. I think what AI and generative AI, and especially the usage of generative AI in teaching pedagogy would help us do is democratization and transformation of education and learning so that we can achieve this at a scale. We can personalize learning and reach many more students at scale, which is what our original intention was, but was difficult to do without technology. If you're teaching one-to-one, that's possible, but when you're teaching more and you can now actually reach many more people, so the role remains the same, but it actually helps us achieve our dream of reaching more students and helping them realize their potential.
Professor Raina, your thoughts? Will a teacher be needed in the future?
I think the role of the teacher then shifts to being the role of a mentor. And content delivery per se should not be the primary role that you play within the 1 hour that you actually have with students. And I think there's a phenomenal opportunity now, given that you've got access to digital content, you have access to digital tools, you will have access to AI tools to really reimagine the class, right? And how you're going to spend that 45 minutes to an hour. Just to mention, over the last year or so, I started experimenting with a new pedagogical structure in my classes, And I called it, I sort of gave it a slightly funny name, called it the MAD plan, which was mentorship and discovery plan, right? Where through that 1 hour, students get different experiences with the same content. Right? Now those are early experimentations, right? But I really think gone are the days when you come into class, you stand in front of the blackboard and you just go ahead and talk for 45 minutes. The blackboard will have a role, but then so will digital technologies, so will digital tools, so will AI and AI technologies. But the fundamental shift has to be from teacher to mentor.
Your thoughts, sir?
Yeah, I fully agree with Dr. Rena. I believe we should be a facilitator rather than teacher. And normally what I do in my MBA, teaching, MBA classroom teaching, we discuss a point or topic, and then we ask about some questions, and then I ask this question from generative AI, ChatGPT. And then ChatGPT gives multiple versions to the answer. Then I ask them to discuss and see what is the correct answer.
Thank you. Your thoughts, Dr. Gaur, on what kind of infrastructure should the school and the college curriculum set up now to equip themselves and be ready for AI future education? What type of infrastructure, it may be hardware, software, what type of talent ecosystems should colleges and universities set up?
I think the basic problem with the skill is the skill providers. And there is a huge gap between the quality of skills required and the providers that are providing such skills. There has to be a clear-cut thought. The NPTEL program was one experiment by the government to actually bridge that. But it failed somehow because the curriculum was not interesting enough. The time has come that we really, if we have to catch up with the two superpowers of AI, that is US and China, we need to bridge this gap very fast. We need to devise some very interesting methods by which some of the leading talent for providing such skills are brought to one platform, create some interesting stuff around it and provide to the students. The second problem is around the AI space is that there are three basic problems of experimenting around AI. One is the compute, the second is the data, and third are the use cases. There is no other place except THub has the capability to create their own GPU compute space. And there are 1,000 incubators in this country. I think 999 don't have that capability. The time has come that one has to sit together, because most of these incubators are in educational system, that how public-private partnerships come together to provision such compute for all students to be actually able to experiment around AI. The data governance models is the second layer which needs to be devised so that ethical, trusted data is in the hands of students to experiment around this. And we don't need one hackathon in a year, we need million hackathons in the year so that this is not for the case that we need problem solving. We need to sensitize the students and the innovators around the type of use cases that are possible by AI to be solved. That's all.
Thank you.
Thanks.
We are at the end of time, but I do want to ask one relevant, fun question. If you had all the AI superpowers to make one IPL team win the championship, I know, which team would you choose? Which IPL team do you want AI to help win the championship?
The IPL team, that is the Indian students.
Thank you. Professor?
Hyderabad Sunriser.
Yes, thank you so much. Professor Rana?
I mean, I support a team called Mathmedia.
Okay. Very good answer, sir.
If I use the bias training data set of this audience, then it has to be the popular answer, which is Hyderabad Sunrisers. But coming back to your first question, being a responsible professor and using responsible AI, I would not want to use my AI superpower for something. I'll want to use it for a better cause as far as humanity is concerned.
Thank you
And let
so much.
cricketers do their job.
Thank you so much. It was lovely talking to all of you, and I hope the audience had a great time. Thank you so much once again.
To stay informed about the startup ecosystem, subscribe to My Startup TV.